Hello and welcome once again to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University, its athletic programs, and the student athletes. I'm Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donnie Netto. Back for another Cardinals Nest, Donnie, and lots to get to today on the program. A little bit later on during the interview portion of the show, we'll be bringing on Ward Berndt. Ward is the head cross country coach for both the men and women's teams at St. Mary's, and Donnie, an important time for them as they gear up for the conference championships.
Yeah, no question. It's that kind of that time of year for all of our athletes. As we start talking about volleyball and soccer, you're talking about playoff pushes, and cross country, you're talking about the culmination of the whole season with the MIAC championships next weekend. You've got hockey's kicking off next weekend. Their seasons actually start. You've got basketball already beginning practice. So it's the kind of time of year that you're really excited for the end of the fall seasons because of the playoff implications, and you're excited for the winter seasons because you've got a lot of teams with high expectations. So it's really a very fun time of year.
Also later on in the program, we'll be previewing the Haunted Forest, which is a fundraiser put on by the St. Mary's softball team, open to the community, where they have take you through the woods of St. Mary's for a little Haunted Forest action. That's coming up this weekend and next weekend. We'll tell you all about that at the end of today's program, so you won't want to miss that.
Great teaser, by the way.
Right. So, Donnie, the big news this week at St. Mary's is unfortunate news because men's soccer head coach Pete Watkins has announced that he'll be retiring from collegiate coaching and moving on to a different venture. We had Pete on just a few weeks ago, Donnie, so we're all sad to be seeing him leave.
Yeah, no question about it. Pete's done a great job here at St. Mary's and really kind of turned that program around, as we'll talk about in just a few minutes, with the men's team still in the playoff hunt and enjoying one of their better seasons in several years. So it's great what Pete has done for the program, but I'm also excited for him. It's a chance to try something different other than soccer. I know talking to him, he feels it's time to kind of step away from the coaching realm and try his hand in something else. He'll be the executive director of the MCAC, which is basically the community colleges in Minnesota, and so he'll be their first ever full-time executive director. So great honor for him to be moving on to a new position. And of course, as you said, sad to see a colleague go. I know Nikki Fenner, our athletic director, has said that there'll be a national search beginning probably right away to try and find his replacement. But he's the type of person that it's tough to replace. He was a great guy, passionate about his team, passionate about St. Mary's, and passionate about soccer. So it wasn't an easy decision for him to make, I know, but we wish him the best of luck and hope that things work out in his new career.
And Donnie, how long has Pete been at St. Mary's? He's put together a nice tenure here.
Yeah, 5 years it's a long time, and like I said, he's done some really good things, and hopefully they can finish this season. He will complete this season. They've got 4 games left, so he'll finish out the year and then step away into his new role. So it's going to be a sad time when they play that final game at Oklamovich Field with him on the sidelines.
Well, and he'll be taking on administrative duties, much like Nikki Fenner did when she went from being softball coach to athletic director at St. Mary's, only he'll be executive director, as you said, for sort of the community colleges sports teams here.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a new experience for him. But he has been in charge of our rec program here at St. Mary's and the classes and whatnot. So he does have that experience as a director. So the fact that it's a first time that anybody's ever been full time in that position that he's taking over, I'm sure there'll be some growing pains and a pretty steep learning curve. But if I know Pete the way I do, he'll do just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the men's soccer team, they have a non-conference game coming up on Thursday against Crown College. But right now they're in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. Still, though, in the hunt for that last playoff spot in the conferences. So, Donnie, after Crown, they get back to conference action again, and so some important games coming up.
No question. It's kind of the men's schedule is really it's interesting this year because 3 of their last 5 games are non-conference games. So, right in the heat of a playoff push here, they had Simpson on Tuesday night. They've got Crown on Thursday night. Then they go to UM Morris next Tuesday. In between those, they've got nationally ranked in first place St. Thomas on Saturday, and then they'll close out the year next Saturday against Carleton. So a lot of soccer left to play, but really the two most important games as we talk this time of year are Saturday against St. Thomas and then the following Saturday against Carleton. St. Thomas unbeaten in conference play and ranked 5th in the nation, so obviously a very, very formidable foe for the Cardinals. And then you've got Carleton, and right now the way the conference standings sit, because of the loss to St. Olaf in overtime last Saturday, we're actually in 7th place, a point out of 6. The top 6 make it into the playoffs, and that 1 point is against Carleton, the team that we finish off against. The problem is that we are the only team of the top 7 teams in the conference that has played 8 of their 10 conference games already. Everybody else has played 7, so a lot's going to kind of wash itself out heading into that Carleton match. Right now, that's definitely a do-or-die game for the Cardinals. They've got to win that if they have any chance of getting into the postseason. But right now they've got to focus on St. Thomas and see if they can pull a point or 3 out of that one, because the way St. Mary's plays at home against nationally ranked teams, you look at how they played against McAllister. That was a game that really easily could have gone either way. So the team is playing with a lot of confidence, and I think that hopefully they can get a victory against Crown, build up a little bit of momentum as they head into Saturday, because the Tommies are a very, very good team.
Well, and maybe some extra motivation now, too, with Pete announcing that he'll be retiring. Maybe they'd like to get in the playoffs just for Pete, at least one of the reasons they'd like to get in, so maybe some added incentive there.
No question, and teams do that. They rally around something like that, and you look at I'm sure that they didn't know this was coming, and so when Coach Watkins told them on Tuesday that he was going to be stepping down, I'm sure that hit them pretty hard, and I know they're going to want to go out and go out and win one for Coach Watkins, so to speak, and hopefully they'll be able to do that, whether it be Saturday against St. Thomas or the following Saturday against Carleton. Those are the 2 big games in this last 4 games of the season for the Cardinals.
Donnie, women's soccer, again, scoring has just not been there for the Cardinals women's soccer team. They lose a couple of games this past week, so now 2-10-1 on the season. The games have been so close, they're just not getting the goals that they need to pull them out.
Yeah, you hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to sound like a broken record, because it's not that they're not creating the offensive opportunities, because they are doing a good job of creating good scoring chances, but right now they just cannot find a way to get the ball in the net, and that's been their Achilles heel all year. And poor Coach Cassidy, that's what we talk about all the time. It's like, we got to find a way to convert on the chances that we're making, and right now they're not doing that. They're playing very solid defensively. Gabriella Peterson is doing a great job in goal, especially considering you kind of forget that she's a freshman. She started 13 straight games now for the Cardinals, and so they had a big non-conference game on Wednesday night against La Crosse, and now they head into the final part of their conference schedule beginning on Saturday against, guess who? Nationally ranked St. Thomas. So it's a tough part of their schedule, in that La Crosse was basically 26th in the country, and St. Thomas is in the top 10. So 2 very, very tough foes, and then they'll close out against St. Kate's the next Wednesday and Carleton on Saturday. So hopefully they can build up a little bit of momentum, but as we've talked about every time we've done the show in the last 3 weeks now, they've got to find a way to create offensive scoring, not just creating the opportunities, but putting the ball in the net. And right now they are struggling to do that.
And finally in this segment, Donnie, the volleyball team just 1 game this past week. One said it was an important matchup against Augsburg. It was on the road, and Augsburg, the top team in the conference, they come out on top 3-1 in that one. So I'm sure Coach Lester a little bit disappointed, but now the Cardinals close out the season here, all home games remaining before playoffs begin.
Yeah, I kind of hope we didn't jinx the Cardinals when we had Morgan Thomas on last week and had her as the guest. But, we knew going in that Augsburg was going to be a very tough match. And even as I talked to Coach Lester about it, it was a much closer match than the 3-1 score, final score indicated. And, there certainly was a lot of positives that they could take away from that match. And as you said, now heading in, 4 matches left in the conference schedule, and all of them at home. And it feels like it's been forever since the Cardinals have been at home. But, a big one on Friday night against Bethel, and then they turn around and play McAllister at home on Saturday. So this is a big weekend for them. Right now, the Cardinals are tied for third with St. Thomas in the conference standings. Again, top 6 will go into the MIAC playoffs. They're sitting very well. I would have to say that, rough guess, if they can win 2 of their final 4, they'll get into the playoffs. You win 3 of the final 4, you're going to get a home berth or home bid in the opening round. So there's certainly a lot to play for. They've just got to continue to play well. They've had a lot of time off now. They haven't played for, when they get to Friday, it'll have actually been 9 days since they've had a competitive match. So it's a good time maybe for them to have had some rest. They can take that Augsburg match, put it aside, and really focus on Bethel and McAllister this weekend. 2 very big matches in a really tight 2-week stretch of very important matches as they continue to strive for the playoffs.
Final thing before we bring on Ward Berndt here, I think just to put into perspective how good the MIAC is in volleyball, the Cardinals' record is 21-3 overall. Yet, Donnie, here we sit talking about they still need to win 2 of their last 4 just to make the conference playoffs. I mean, that's incredible to me.
It really is, and we've talked about it so often in every sport. The MIAC is such a deep, talented conference, and it's to the point. I know Mike has said it many times. You've got 11 teams in the conference, 12 teams in the conference, and 10 of them could are there where they could actually make a playoff push. So it's you have to be good every single time you take the court, and that's when you get to these matches. I think that's what makes it so special when you do make the playoffs or you do win a conference championship, is you really have earned something, because this conference is so difficult and so talented that if you are the best, you are definitely the best of the best. And that right now, that's right where this volleyball team is. They're right on the cusp of being the best of the best. And you take a solid play, maybe a few bounces against Augsburg, you get a 3-1 win instead of a 3-1 loss, and all of a sudden, you're battling for a regular season title. So it's that close in this conference.
All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. We'll have Ward Berndt, the men's and women's cross-country coach. He's our guest next here on HBC TV 25.
Our prison population has doubled.
Our prison system is a disaster.
Fixing the criminal justice system, ending private prisons.
Tonight, a raid by the sheriff is part of a new push to clean up the Clark County Jail.
Why would an innocent person
choose to go to jail?
I wanted to become a better corrections officer.
This will reinforce my own sobriety.
I'm scared that I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
It wouldn't take much to just snap.
HBC GigaWorld is fiber optic, which means there's more capacity for more devices. With HBC GigaWorld, your broadband experience gives you unsurpassed capacity, allowing multiple users in your home to surf, shop, game, and stream all at the same time, with no buffering or lag. HBC GigaWorld, with more bandwidth and reliability than any other provider, giving you the best speed and capacity for your GigaHome experience. Visit hbci.com to learn more. Turn your friends into GigaFriends with HBC and earn up to $50 on each qualifying referral.
Up to $50?
That's right.
More input, please.
When HBC customers refer their friends to sign up for HBC services, they can earn up to $50. If they get 2 friends to sign up for services...
that would be $100?
That's right. Pretty quick with the math there.
Affirmative. We are robots. Math is kind of our thing.
Never would have guessed.
Grab some GigaFriends and start saving today.
It's a new day, and there are things you need to know. Football things.
Know where he's at, because he will knock your block off.
Fantasy football things.
His top 10 upside, there I said it.
Non-football things.
I plugged Harry Potter. I've talked about Game of Thrones.
Bring it back to sports.
And things on your mind.
Tweet them to us at GMFB.
Good Morning Football, Monday through Friday at 7, only on NFL Network.
They said Down syndrome. Don't expect a lot. I just said no. John is going to be my child.
My goals is a relationship, and maybe I'll move out on my own.
You can make your life anything you want.
I'm here, I'm alive, I'm human. We have to stick together.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, now joined by Ward Berndt. Ward is the cross-country coach for both the men's and the women's teams here on campus. And Ward, welcome back to the Cardinals Nest here, and you're gearing up already for the conference championships as the season's starting to wind down now. So for both the women and men, maybe tell us your perspective on how the season has gone so far as you gear up for the conference championships.
Well, on the men's side, we have kind of an heavy upperclassmen group, so they kind of know what to expect. I haven't had to direct them too much. We just had to work some things through. The women's side has definitely we've been more of a freshman squad than we've had before, so it's pretty heavy on the freshman side up front, so it's been a lot more learning in that part of it too, even more kind of race day hands-on type stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to conference. We're trying to set it up this week so they can do their dry run rehearsal beforehand to see how it feels and stuff like that. So,
as the season started, Coach, can you talk a little bit about you had mentioned that you have a lot of freshmen, especially on the women's side. How do you prepare them? How do you get them acclimated to? I know we talked many times. This is the first times that they've been running 6Ks in competitive atmosphere. As the preseason rolls around, and then maybe even the first couple of meets, how do you get them prepared and ready as you now are getting ready for the conference championships?
Well, experience is a wonderful thing. So originally what we try to do is we try to kind of tell them what's going to go on, what's going to happen, and then let them experience it. After they experience it, we can come back and revisit some of the stuff and say, okay, what did you feel here? How did this work out? How do you perceive this as happening? So for them, that's more the learning curve. They have to be in a couple of races really to understand what's going on and then apply it as the season goes on.
And then obviously, like you said, with the guys, it's a whole different method of coaching because they've all been here before. So how do you approach that in terms of getting them ready, especially early in the season?
I think the biggest challenge for the guys is they have the expectations, and now it's kind of keeping them in check a little bit too, because sometimes you put a little more pressure on yourself. Things don't just happen the way that you would want them to happen. So for us, more about bringing the pressure back a little bit on them, because they have enough pressure on themselves. They want to do well. They know they can. We just have to bring the pressure back so they can just run and have fun doing it. And if they do that, they'll perform well.
And the thing is, talk a little bit about the last thing you said is they can just go out and run, because really the race is very strategic. It isn't just the gun goes off and you go run 8K and you're done, because there's some strategy to that 8K. Talk a little bit about how you prepare your athletes for the strategy of running 8K for guys and a 6K for women.
Well, first of all, they have to really run within themselves to begin with. No matter who's out there, no matter how many other people are out there, they have to kind of know what their ability is, where their times, their paces sort of are. And that gets to be a little bit of a challenge when you get to conference, because placing is a major factor there, and you don't want to give up places in the first mile or two, but sometimes you kind of have to get the race moving later on down the road. So really it's trying to get them set up so they can run within themselves, run within their pace, within their ability and fitness, and then compete when they're in the right setting in the right group. And that's definitely practice, rehearsal on that part of it. So.
Coming up to next weekend's MIAC Conference Championships, you've had 4 different meets here throughout the year. Started with the Alumni Open at St. Mary's, then River Falls, then Carleton, and then last week La Crosse. It seems like the meets have been sort of very nicely paced and placed, and so that there's been plenty of rest in between. Was that something intentional? Did it just sort of fall out that way, or how did the schedule line up for you?
It was intentional. Last year we didn't do a 6K early for the women, and I felt with the freshman group we had to put a 6K earlier into the season. After that, I wanted a block of training so we could go through that and do that. If I redid the schedule again, I might change it a little bit. I'm kind of thinking I wish I would have put another meet in there, but for the most part, it is pretty good. We had a good block of training and some rest.
I'm sort of curious, how do you schedule the season? Is that something you do? Do you do it in conjunction with Nikki Fenner, the athletic director? Are you invited to certain meets? How does the schedule sort of work?
I get pretty much complete say of what I want for the schedule on it. So what we like to do is we like to have about a 2-week cycle so we can get a good training block in there and still have a little bit of fresh legs coming into the next meet. And then obviously within that fits in a larger training cycle too that we have with stuff too. So, but yeah, we have we look at the meets that's going to match us most for each team mostly, because sometimes you want the team to have success winning. Sometimes you just want them to run against really fast people and get drug out and see what kind of performance you have too. So that's kind of how we pick and choose the meets. Then we also use the time allotment too.
And actually, building on that, if as Dean mentioned, the meets that you had, each one got bigger and bigger in terms of size of the meet. Was that purposely done as well, so that the last meet, the Jim Drew Story New Barrow, was by far your biggest mass of people heading into the conference, which is going to be a huge group of people as well?
Yeah, that was definitely intentional. Our first 2 meets we really treat more like a time trial, they have to get used to competing, but I want competing without the pressure of the scoring part of it. Then as we get a little bit closer to the things, okay, now scoring becomes important. So now how do we handle that part of it too? So we apply a little bit more pressure on it. And plus it's just fun to run with fast people and just get pulled out too.
So Ward, something Donnie and I have talked about throughout the season so far is you clearly have an in with some families. There are a lot of siblings that you've been able to coach over the years. So talk about this year's men's and women's teams and some of those athletes and you've had their older brothers or sisters before.
I have two families in particular right now that they were part of my first class when I came in here too. So I tell you, recruiting is easier when you recruit the oldest one and the rest of them run after that too. Recruiting gets a lot easier on that part of it. But no, it's been awesome. They're fantastic families. Each one of the families I've loved since I got to meet the oldest sibling and the families there. So it's been really fun having them on the team and really kind of bringing some of the old and some of the new in as they've developed into their own kind of team.
Well, and one of them in particular this year is one of your top female runners, and that's Alyssa Thiel. She's doing terrific so far.
Yep. She's been fun watching.
Do you see any sibling rivalry there? And I guess I was looking on the guys' side with Ben Borash. His brothers were very good runners here. Do you see any of that hey, I want to do better than they did type of thing? I know he's a really quiet kid, so probably doesn't say that, but is there some of that sibling rivalry with these younger students trying to say, hey, you know what, my sister or brother did this way, I'm going to do better than that?
The first day of camp, we sat down with the team, and I told the team, like, I know all your families, and I'm assuming most of you know the rest of your other siblings too, but we have to treat each one of you as an individual, who you are. We may have a background of the family, but we really have to treat you where you're at. And we try to eliminate the rivalry as much as possible because essentially you're just chasing a ghost. It's really kind of a pointless mission. What we want to do is make them as good as we can through that part of it too, and the learning process and that part of it too. You can just short circuit a little bit because I know a little bit more about them coming in.
Talk a little bit about, and I know we've had this conversation before, but where you guys train has to be the best in the conference in terms of giving you the ability to have the hills that we have and the flats that we have. Does that work to your advantage as much as you may think it does?
I think it can because the bluffs that we have and the trails we have, we can replicate a lot of parts of the courses that we're going to be seeing. So there's some hills at the conference meet that we have on our course. We can set it up so that they approach it at the same point in the same spot. So I do think it definitely gives us an advantage on it too. Plus, we don't have to travel 15, 20 minutes to get to it. It's right across the creek, right across the backyard for us, so it's good.
We were actually talking today before you came here about the other places that you run. Most of them are on golf courses, so you're getting a lot more flats than you do here. Is that kind of the way cross country is going? Maybe more to a flatter type course than what you guys have here?
I think it's easier to find golf courses and it makes it a little bit more spectator friendly. So a lot of coaches and programs like to go that way just because you can see things out and it's laid out a little bit easier. Plus, it's a little bit harder facility-wise for, say, at a state park, you don't have the restroom facilities, the electrical facilities, stuff like that for hosting, and sometimes the starting areas that you sometimes need too. So I think we're definitely fortunate where we have a lot of those facilities. We have the trails, but we have some of the starting areas too, and we have the other amenities that they're necessary for hosting.
Yeah, and speaking of hosting, St. Mary's and the course hosts a lot of high school meets during the year. The Jim Flim Invitational is probably one of the more well-known ones, a very large meet for both girls and boys, high school athletes, but also Cotter hosted the conference meet at the St. Mary's course. So maybe just talk about that, your role in that and helping make sure they have everything they need and what it's like for those high school athletes to run on the St. Mary's course.
I think my role in that typically is generally removed unless they want me to be part of it.
Sure.
So if they need something on the trails, they need some advice, I'll definitely come in there, work with them, show them some stuff, show them some things that I've learned over the time. For the most part, though, they generally host pretty good meets on their own. They've done this enough times that they know what they're looking for. They know what they want on it, too. So I'm more of a supply person. If they need whatever it is at that point, I'll see what I can do to help them out on that day of it. In terms of exposing the high school students to it, though, I think the kids have a perception that St. Mary's bluffs are pretty tough because there can be some tough sections of the course there, too. Right. So I've known even some teams yesterday were saying, we're going to treat this, we're not going to run that hard on it. We're going to, you know what? It's a cross-country race. You probably should run kind of hard here and just learn how to race on that course.
And those hills, as Donnie mentioned, a big challenge too. So, well, we're out of time this segment. Ward Berndt, thanks for being on the show. Good luck at the conference championships. That's going to be in St. Paul, right, at Como? Como Park on October 29th, right?
Correct.
So, all right, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back, we'll preview the Haunted Forest, the Walk of Horror at St. Mary's. That's coming up next here on HBC.
This is prison. These inmates will kill you. Take them down. I don't care about your authority.
I can make their life just as hard as they want to make mine.
I don't care about your job.
They're gonna take me seriously? I look like I'm 12 years old.
My biggest fear is not going home to my wife.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to go face your fear.
Put the weapon down!
That's what we do every day.
What did I get myself into?
Turn your friends into GigaFriends with HBC and earn up to $50 on each qualifying referral.
Up to $50?
That's right.
More input, please.
When HBC customers refer their friends to sign up for HBC services, they can earn up to $50. If they get 2 friends to sign up for services...
that would be $100?
That's right. Pretty quick with the math there.
Affirmative. We are robots. Math is kind of our thing.
Never would have guessed.
Grab some GigaFriends and start saving today.
HBC GigaWorld is fiber optic, which means you can experience true gigabit Wi-Fi. With HBC GigaWorld, you can maximize your Wi-Fi experience and the devices you use with HBC's GigaHome Gateway. Take your Wi-Fi to the next level with faster internet speeds that have increased signal strength, backed by the reliability and bandwidth to support simultaneous internet users all at the same time. HBC GigaWorld, with more bandwidth and reliability than any other provider. Visit hbci.com to learn more.
Get your fixer-upper fix on HGTV.
Pow!
Every Tuesday.
Reporting for duty.
Chip and Joanna make dreams come true.
It's gonna look awesome.
OMG! With more challenges. More surprises.
Are y'all ready to see your fixer-upper?
Yeah! More Chip.
I think it's always fun to shake it up a little bit.
Amen.
Fixer-upper. Tuesday night at 9, only on HGTV.
The most exciting, game-defining yards in football. It's NFL Red Zone from NFL Network.
Magnificent!
Get every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon. And football doesn't stop.
We're covering it like crazy.
On NFL Network, it goes all week.
We got a lot of football. Don't you go away.
Get NFL Red Zone from NFL Network today.
And we're back here to wrap things up on this edition of the Cardinals Nest on HBC. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donnie Netto. And Donnie, this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and next weekend, Friday and Saturday, plus Halloween night from 7 to 10 p.m. It is the Walk of Horror, which is through the woods at St. Mary's University. It's a fundraiser put on by the softball team at St. Mary's, and it helps to fund their spring trip that they take every year. And it's open to the community. All ages are welcome to come and get a good scare in the St. Mary's woods right at Halloween time.
Absolutely. And you know, the one thing is, it's very important to note too, is that there is a kid-friendly one. So if you do have younger kids that want to come along, they certainly are invited. You know, the thing about this, and I was just thinking about this as we went to break after Coach Berndt was here, this is about the 18th year of this. Wow. They've been doing this for a long time. It's become the staple of their fundraising activities, and it's a lot of work. But the neat thing is that every year it's different. And it boggles my mind that after 18 years, they're continuing to find different ways to scare you in the woods. And they do a phenomenal job. And every year it's different, and every time they have. And I think part of that is because you've got new players coming in with new ideas. And it's just, I applaud Coach Miller, Coach Borowski, and the Cardinal fast pitch softball team, because they do a phenomenal job. And I encourage everybody to come out and help support the softball team, but also to have a great time, because it's a lot of fun. And you know, I think that when people leave here, they realize, you know what, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, okay, I got a little scared, and that's okay.
Yeah, $6 for adults, $5 for everybody else, and it goes for a great cause. That's this Friday, Saturday, and next Friday, Saturday, and Halloween night, 7 to 10 p.m. That's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Thanks for watching. Tune in again next week on Channel 25.